Well, good morning. It's day 2 of my epic crossing the Bob trip, and it's starting out pretty cloudy, which is really a surprise considering the weather report said it was just going to be all sunny and hot and clear the whole time. So it's actually really a blessing. I'm very happy after the searing heat from yesterday that melted my peanut M&Ms into one solid block. That really took a lot out of me. I kind of slept in a little this morning and getting a slow start. Also, the heat was so bad that it was probably midnight before I was able to even put on my Polypro, so that made sleeping a little hard. And there was some little critter that was bugging me too last night. I don't know what that was, but I kept hearing like 4 or 5 footsteps, and then it would stop, and then nothing for about a half an hour, and then it would do it again, just about the time I'd be falling asleep again. I think eventually I figured out it must have been a squirrel trying to bomb me from the trees. There's no other way for some animal to make just a little bit of noise like that and then not, but never did figure it out for sure. So I'm having hot coffee and hot oatmeal this morning, which helps with the water treatment situation. I can purify the water by boiling it instead of having to use any of the precious aqua tabs. And I did kind of recalculate that because the more I thought about it, I'm pretty sure that I was counting 2 tabs per one of these containers, and I'm pretty sure that 1 tab will do it. So I actually have 30 treatments, and it's not quite such a dire straits as what I was thinking I was in yesterday. So thinking that'll be okay. Again, just trying to take water from really safe sources, streams coming in from the side of the trail, and then I'll use the purifying tabs when that isn't available. Just got a moderate day today. I think it'll be about 15 miles heading down to Schaefer Meadows and a little bit beyond that. So mostly downhill, I hope. Beaver Lake is pretty, but it's not a great place to camp really, because obviously with the marshiness there's a lot of bugs around. And it's also difficult to get up to the lake shore to get water. So I've been actually going the other direction. It's just a short ways to the outlet of the lake, little stream there that's a lot easier place to get water. Had a frightening moment this morning when I thought I'd forgotten my chocolate covered espresso beans. Wouldn't want to face a 7-day trip without those, but I found them, so the trip is saved. Little patches of blue sky starting to poke through. So I better get going and hike while it's cool. Well, all packed up and ready to hit the trail. It's about a little before 8:30, so even though I slept in a bit, I am hitting the trail with pretty good time. And my shelter and ground cloth had 0 condensation on them. I don't know if that was just because of the heat or because I was under these trees, but that will simplify the day because I won't have to spend time spreading that all out to dry. Mosquitoes are starting to get bad, so I better get on the trail and, like I said, make use of this cool part of the day. Let's go. Just 5 minutes on the trail out from Beaver Lake, and I've already come to the trail junction with the CDT. So that's the end of me being on the CDT for now. Although I do expect to join up with it again. That's kind of fun. Somebody took the time to carve that in the tree. I do expect to connect up with it again farther south, and again just for about 2 to 3 miles. This trail down along Cox Creek is through thick forest, so there isn't much of a view, but I'm loving it after yesterday. Here's my first option for water. and it's fairly good, but I wouldn't want to take from the actual crossing where all the horse traffic has gone, and I could go a little upstream, but it would be a bit of a struggle through that brush to get in there, and really I prefer something that's tumbling a little more actively over rocks. This would probably be okay, but I think I'll hold out for something on down the road. This trail has an extra element of difficulty. It seems like it was traveled heavily by horses when it was still muddy, and then all those ridges have dried hard, so it's really uneven. I'm pretty glad that I'm hiking this with fresh feet. If it was the end of the day, I think I would be really hurting. Well, this option might not appear to be much better than the last one, but I think I got a winner. I was able to crash through the brush over there and go about 100 feet upstream, and found a dandy spot back in there to take from. And I can see that the mountain is continuing on up there, so I know that the stream is coming right off that mountain. So I think that's probably pretty good. The trail just opened up into this lovely meadow area right next to Cox Creek. I believe this is called Wapiti Park. Well, it's straight up noon and I decided to take a break and have some lunch. And it's about 77 degrees, seems kind of muggy out. Sure happy to not be hiking in the direct sun though. This trail that I've been hiking along has continued to have the uneven surface, which has really given my ankles a workout. I actually have twisted them 4 times now, thankfully not bad enough to sprain them, but every time I get a little impatient with the slow pace of travel, I start speeding up and then I twist the ankle. So I just have to be patient and really keep my eye on every footstep. I did have an interesting moment back there a little ways. I was following Cox Creek through a floodplain area, and the trail was getting less and less distinct. Then it just kind of petered out and looked like maybe it was supposed to cross the creek, and I knew that there was a crossing from the map. So I got out my GPS, and according to that, I had missed the ford. I'm always a little skeptical about that though, because it, isn't terribly accurate in the close-up, and so I thought, well, maybe this was the ford that I was at. But there wasn't a clear path up the other side of the stream. So I managed to find my way across and up the bank, and the GPS said that the trail was farther up the hill. So I kept crashing through the brush, bushwhacking, hoping that it was right. And just about the time I was ready to give up and decide it was wrong, then I hit the trail. And it was not very clear, but I decided it was definitely a trail, and I followed it for a while, and then it got more and more clear. So that was a little hairy situation, not terrible, but it's useful to be able to make the use of the GPS to get you back on track there. Basically what I was doing was just hiking perpendicular to where the trail was on the GPS, so I figured either I'll hit it or I'll go past it according to the GPS, and then I'll know that it's wrong. But it was right this time. I've reached the junction with the Big River Trail, which is the trail that runs all along the middle fork of the Flathead, which is a good sign of progress. Boy, it's just delightful trail conditions on this Big River Trail. It's a real relief traveling along in these trees with a bit of a breeze blowing. Stumbled on a little patch of thimbleberries. This will keep you going. They're good. Well, there's my second clear view of Chair Mountain. And I guess from this angle you can tell why it's called that. And it's also my first clear shot at the middle fork of the Flathead. That's great. I'm getting places. And that, my friends, is where we're headed tonight. That's the drainage going up into the Dolly Vardan stream. Well, it's 3 o'clock and my thermometer says it's 90 degrees and it's been kind of in the shade, so I think it's probably accurate. Amazingly, despite that, I'm actually making pretty good time. It's looking like I'm going to be at the place that I plan to camp by about 4:30, which, if that's right, that's just way too early for me to stop. I don't know what I would do in camp all that time, so I'm already thinking about pushing on. I probably shouldn't try to make those decisions ahead of time before I'm actually there, but it would be cool to get another couple of miles in and farther down, and that would make the next day that much easier. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm just about half a mile from fording the Middle Fork, which is one of the two big fords of this whole trip, the Middle Fork and the South Fork of the Flathead. So I'll be pretty excited to have that behind me. I've been there before and it wasn't a difficult ford, so I'm not too worried about it. Schaefer Meadows is just over in that direction, maybe half a mile or so. And it's a huge complex, a grass airstrip, and probably the busiest place in the wilderness. Well, this is just crazy. I've crossed the river and can't find the dang trail on the other side. GPS says I'm right on it, so that's not helping this time. I think the smartest thing to do is just to go crashing back through the weeds to the river again and walk along the shore and see if I can pick it up. Well, after half an hour of thrashing around in the woods, I finally came back to the spot where I crossed to search again. And finally, I see it, taken off at an angle down low. You probably can't see that at all, but now that I'm right on the trail, the GPS says that I'm way off of it, which is the problem with GPS, with depending on it too much to find the trail. Well, at long last, I made it to the Dolly Vardan Trail. And there is the Dolly Vardan. It's 5 o'clock and I've reached the place that I was aiming for to camp tonight, which is this junction with Chair Mountain and the Trilobite Lakes are up over that way, and Dean Lake. Obviously, this is not a place to camp, so the question of whether to keep going or not was solved for me. I mentioned earlier that part of my design of this trip was connecting the dots between places I had been before and wanted to be. And in 2014 I did a CDT section hike, basically from south to north through the middle of the Bob Marshall, and going in at Benchmark, and you're supposed to continue on and come out at Marias Pass. But I happen to know that last section there's about 20 miles that's just heinous, because it's all just a hallway of trees, just miles and miles of lodgepole forest. You can't see anything, and you're just slogging along trying to get through it. So since I was just doing a section hike and I can do whatever I want, I changed the route and went up over the Trilobite Range, which instead of No View was a fantastic place to visit. And then that continues on up over another pass and down the Chair Mountain Trail. So when I was coming down that Chair Mountain Trail, I was looking at this drainage up the Dolly Vardan and thinking how cool it would be to explore up that. But it's so remote, I thought, man, I'll never come in and hike up this river just to see this river. So this is one of my to-dos, was to get to spend time on the Dolly Vardan River. Well, I've been hiking like a crazy man and just about gave up on any water coming in from the mountainside. And then I came along this beauty. I was able to scramble back up in there, and there's just a gem of a pool back in there. It just really made my day. Well, I said that hiking along this trail was all about getting to experience the Dolly Vardan River, and it's 6:30 now, and this is the first time I've seen it since I took that shot at 4 o'clock the first time I saw it. Looks like it could be a beautiful view. Well, I made it to Argosy Creek, and that adds up to 19.6 miles for the day, and with all the thrashing around trying to find the trail crossing the Middle Fork, I'm going to call it a 20-mile day. Got here at 7:30, and really happy about what I accomplished today. I certainly didn't intend to. This was going to be an easy day, but when I got to where I intended to stop, it was a crappy place. It wasn't even possible to stop there, and it was so early. And I was feeling good, so I thought I might as well push on, and that's going to help me a lot for the rest of the trip, because it puts me basically 5 miles ahead farther on my schedule. And so I'm really think that was a good thing. I'm feeling just fine now, and had a chance to clean up in the stream. Ooh, it's really cold. I got my stealth camp set up, and I managed to gobble down some chicken and rice, which was one of those peak refuel meals. I ended up splitting those in half because they're so big, and that was plenty filling, just the half of it. So now I get to just tuck in and probably have a great sleep for the night. So today I started at Beaver Lake, worked my way down Cox Creek. This was that Wapiti Park. On down, up over this little hump, and to Schaefer, and this was the crossing of Middle Fork that took forever. And then on up here, up the Dolly Vardan branch, and I'm right now here at Argosy Creek. I have been meaning to talk about, I have some anxieties for this trip, and the first one is whether my body will hold out. Specifically, I'm worried about my right knee. I told you the story about how it was injured last year a silly little injury, and so worried about that holding up for the whole 100-mile trip. Today when I was thrashing around looking for that trail, I managed to trip and rammed my shin right into a fallen log. Unbelievable. I can't believe I did that, but could have been really bad, but it doesn't seem to be hurting, so I'm feeling a little less anxious about that now. The other big anxiety is also the big highlight of the trip, which is that I plan to hike along the top of the Chinese Wall. Now, the Chinese Wall is a land formation that's probably the top draw for anybody coming to the Bob Marshall Wilderness. Everybody has to go see the Chinese Wall. But the trail goes along the base of the wall, which is very impressive and beautiful. But I've always wondered what it would be like to get up on top of that and hike along that. So that's my plan. That's going to be the highlight of the trip, but it's also the thing that's causing me the most worry. Just wondering if I'll be able to get up there, and I know there's a fair amount of scrambling around in some rock chasms trying to figure out how to get across there. So that'll be a big deal. That's what I'm working towards, and when I'm done with that, I'll feel like I really accomplished something. But for now, everything's holding up good, and like I say, certainly getting this 20-mile day under my belt is soothing my anxiety a little bit about the body holding up. I think I'll make it just fine. Alright, well that's it for today. Oh, I should say there's probably about a 1,500 foot elevation gain too. I couldn't believe how much climbing there was along this Dolly Vardan Creek, which, you know, you would expect there would be when you're following a stream uphill, but that's a lot of elevation gain. I really hadn't planned on that, so glad that's behind me too. Okay, have a good night. I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. It's day 3 and feeling a little rough after my 20-miler yesterday, but not too bad. I think once I get going I'll be able to loosen up a bit. Part of being the 3rd day means that it's laundry day, so I've got my laundry sitting out here. I like to rinse that out, so I switch out clothes every other day, or every 3rd day. A lot of people bring soap and a special bucket, I guess, a collapsible bucket to do laundry when they're on a longer trip like this. Personally, I don't feel too good about even biodegradable soap. Leaves a residue, I've read, and so rather than all that extra hassle, I just rinse it out and wring it really good, hit it on a rock if it's really bad. And that'll get me through. Well, that's the remnants of my camp, so I think I did a pretty good job there. Well, it's 8:30 and I'm ready to go. I can't believe it actually rained a little bit just now. It's only about 5 or 6 drops, just enough to put the raincoat on, and I'll probably have to take it off after hiking for 10 minutes, but maybe that'll cool things off a little bit. That'd be okay. Gotta get going because the mosquitoes are crowding me. Looking forward to climbing up in Pentagon Pass. Anytime I get in the high country, that's always fun to see the views, and there's just something about it that I really love. So let's get going. Wow, that falls was awesome. That was just about 15 or 20 minutes up the trail from where I was camped last night. The trail this morning is starting off pretty gradual incline, and this is the Hall of Trees effect that I was describing yesterday. How would you like to be working trail maintenance and have to saw through that with a handsaw a couple of times so that you can roll that away? I'm grateful for their work. Although I do have to say that it's getting really brushy towards the top here. Well, I finally broke out above the trees and the brush. And this is what I've been missing. Pretty cool. It's Mount St. Nicholas, way off away in Glacier Park. Sun shining on the mountains way up there. So this finally is the view from the top. From the way we came. This is the way we're going. Somewhere way down there is Pentagon Cabin.
Every trip I take, I imagine spending some time each day in meditation, just soaking up the beauty of the wilderness. But somehow it seems that I rarely get around to it, even though it would really only take 10 or 15 minutes. This trip, I was determined to change that and make meditation a priority. And still, it took until day 3 for me to actually keep that promise.
Doesn't take any time at all to come down from the pass, which I guess shouldn't surprise me. Well, the logs were cut pretty well on the other side of the pass, but not so much on this side. I think that might have fallen fairly recently, and maybe I'm the first person by, because I only had to break a few branches and then it wasn't so tough to get over it. Well, water doesn't get any safer to drink than that. Might take a while though to fill a jug.
Well, this is the third time I've crossed this little stream, and I got water from it the first, but the second two it's been completely dry, which sort of amazes me down low like this. It looks like a pretty active stream normally. Been quite a few blowdowns on this trail, and unfortunately they're all really big stuff that takes a while to navigate around. I was working my way across one of them and managed to scratch my arm, and it isn't too bad. It's just deep enough to bleed a little bit, so I grabbed a little leaf, slapped it on there, and held it for about 5 minutes. And that's the shape of the leaf that you see there. That stopped the bleed, and then it fell off, and now I didn't have to dig into the first aid kit. Things are really starting to open up now. Just about a mile from Pentagon Cabin, I think. And I believe that might be the drainage that I'm heading up next. Up the Spotted Bear. Just past 4:30 and I made it to Pentagon Cabin. And if you're ever through this area, there's actually some beautiful campsites just over there. Usually there are signs up to tell you don't camp in the vicinity of the cabin. Got the facilities over there. And there's the horse corral. And just beyond that is the Spotted Bear River. What do you think? Can I get across this with dry feet? Well, I made it. Pretty proud of that. I'm not going to show you because I'd have to do it again, and I don't think I could. The tip of that log dipped down into the water when I was on it. Well, it's 6 o'clock, and I really wanted to keep hiking for another hour and a half or so in order to place myself really close to the Chinese wall for tomorrow, but I just couldn't pass this place up. It's so inviting, and right next to the Spotted Bear River, just really an appealing spot. And I was very aware that the spot I was shooting for probably was not going to have any campsites. We'll see tomorrow. I'll be interested to know what I passed up on, but I'm pretty tired anyway, so I think it's okay to stop early, and might make a little harder day tomorrow, but we'll see how that plays out. For now, I think I'm just gonna embrace this spot and be okay with it. So I started today at Argosy Creek, where it comes into the Dolly Vardan River right there, and climb up 2,000 feet up to Pentagon Pass. Then came down the other side and followed Pentagon Creek, which was dry all the way down until here when it met up with, I guess it doesn't have a name. Well, it met up with this stream. It came from Pentagon Mountain. It actually had a lot of water running in it, even though Pentagon was completely dry until they merged there, and then there was lots of water on down, and I came to Pentagon Cabin, and then just up the Spotted Bear River to about this spot. I'm just a little past that trail junction there. Well, I've had a chance to get cleaned up, and wow, does that ever feel good. Can't tell you how great it feels to take the hat off and get some of the sweat off. Mosquitoes were not bugging me at all until I sat down to film. Tonight for dinner we're having wild Zora, and it's bedrock
Bedrock Beef Chili. This is a really good company. They make some pretty awesome meals. Been happy with every one I've had so far. I haven't had this one yet though, so looking forward to this. Well, it was a pretty good day. I think, shoot, that was about 15 miles. I'm going to have to recalculate that because I was figuring on getting to the next spot. I guess probably 14 miles to here. And it doesn't sound like much, but getting up over that Pentagon Pass was just brutal. The really steep trail, and then all the deadfall on the other side, plus the heat. Today was supposed to be the hottest of the days of our heat index, so I'm going to blame all that. And mileage wise, I am just about halfway. If I had gone to the next stop another hour, that would have been almost exactly 50 miles. So I think that's pretty good. It's the end of day 3, and I am farther along than what I originally planned. So I'm hopeful about tomorrow, but it's going to be a big day. I might have to get up early, and the big question is, I would like to try camping up on the wall, but I have no idea what I'm going to face up there. And once I get up, I probably don't want to come back down. I might end up, I think there's almost certainly there's some flat places right up against the edge of the cliff, but not sure if that's a fun place to camp or not. And I do know of one place that I can definitely camp, but it's about, I think it was 6 miles as the crow flies, and I know that I'm going to have to do a couple of serious detours that are going to add more, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get to that tomorrow night. We'll just have to wing it, and I was going to do that tonight, but this site just was calling my name. I couldn't ignore it. I just had to stop. Partly because I'm tired, but partly because it's just so beautiful here. I guess that's worth stopping, right? Overall, things are going pretty well. As usual, sore at the end of the day, but nothing unusual. One problem I am having is that these new shoes that I just did a review on, turns out the dry time is not only bad, it's horrible. It takes like a whole day for them to dry, so I did lose some extra time today trying to do rock hops, and in the end I just gave up. After I've already spent a whole bunch of time, lost a whole bunch of time staying dry, just almost this last ford, I just couldn't do it. So my feet are wet again. We'll see how long it takes them to dry. I think I've been doing a good job so far with finding safe water to drink. I've been pretty fortunate that way. Just when I would run out, and I went a couple of stretches just between breaks like I would normally do without water, but I was always able to find some just right when I wanted it. So far that's going good. I haven't had to use a single one of my AquaTabs treatments, saving those. Thought I would give this one last try. Probably will work this time. Well, see that red flashing? That means the battery's dead. So I managed to replace the fairly good batteries with dead batteries, and I didn't bring extra because I figured I'm not going to need extra. I just put brand new lithium batteries in there. There's a good lesson. Anyway. Well, I think I'm ready to give this a try. Sure smells good. Wow, that's yummy. It's got chunks of carrots and these little, I think they're like crackers. It's pretty good. This might be my new favorite dish. Just a little picante, but not bad. Yum. Well, end of the third day, and wouldn't you know, just right in the last hour that I was hiking, I saw a couple, and they were a little farther away. I was trying to rock hop across a creek, and they were at the actual ford. I didn't even see that they actually just walked across it. They must have. But they waved, and by the time I got back to where they were gone. So I cannot say that I haven't seen anybody, but I can say I haven't spoken to anybody in 3 days, which is pretty amazing in these days of COVID driving the masses into the woods. It seems like everywhere that you go, there's a lot more people these days, or this year, than normally. So to go 3 days without interacting with anybody is pretty miraculous. I don't know, that probably isn't going to hold up tomorrow when I get up to my lake in Larch Hill. That's, as I've been saying, the chief destination of anybody that visits the Bob Marshall is to see the Chinese Wall. So I think it'd be pretty weird if I got through there and didn't run into anybody. Although I might be looking down on them from the top of the cliff, maybe. That would be pretty cool. Stay tuned and we'll find out where I end up tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. I'll see you in the morning.